will begin in about 2 minutes. If I could have the speakers for the issues.
What are we doing?
Okay.
That's it. Yes. Matt Sabo. All right. There's two off your list.
And you're here for,
ESC?
oh, the service center. Oh, okay, we did not know that you were coming.
Do I sit at the table? You didn't know I was coming? I wrote.
Okay. Yes, come on and have it.
Pretty good about you? You know, every day is better, that's the truth. Slow and steady. Yeah, I mean, look what I can do. I feel special, like, no crutch and everything. Don't challenge. Well, my physical therapist keeps telling me, like, you shouldn't be off the crutch. And so what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. I'm allowed to be off the crutch, but I shouldn't be. So which one am I supposed to do? You're supposed to be on me. I don't know anything about injuries except for I hurt myself. I know how to fall off a ladder. Build my garage.
In late tradition, we advertised that this program would begin at 3:30. It's 3:31, so we will begin. My name is Ellen Chambers. Voters and serving as moderator this afternoon. Our timers are Phyllis Wilcox and Beth Hutton, our voter service chair. Each of the speakers will be given 3 minutes. The timers will hold up a 30-second warning sign. speaking against passage of issue number 1.
Station is almost double the national average cost. This cost matters. It'll be almost $100 per year to the average homeowner, so he or she will pay almost $2,800 over the life of the loan, which is 28 years. While Concord is expected to grow by less than 10% in population over that period. Sure, emergency calls have increased by 30% over the past 13 years, but as the Ohio Fire Chief Association study stated, this increase is driven primarily by EMS calls, which have increased 51%. Fire calls remain relatively steady. In fact, 80% of the calls are EMS calls, for which payment is received from insurance companies and other sources. Neighboring communities such as Lyndhurst, Madison Township have similar number of calls, yet built new fire stations for half the cost. Further, Concord plans to build a second new fire station on Prouty Road for $5 million more. So total construction, interest, architect fees, and other costs could be more than $25 million. There is a better and more reasonable way forward. Defeat issue 1 tax increase. Have the trustees present more reasonable and affordable plans to meet Concord's future safety needs without adding taxes. Our emergency response professionals and Concord's taxpayers deserve this. Concord has excess funds of more than $1 million of special business and wage taxes each year, which in the past have been used for projects such as the failed town center. These funds, combined with money from the continuous safety levy passed in 2015, can be used to build more great facilities without increasing our taxes. Vote no on issue number 1 on November 5th. No new taxes. Thank you.
And volunteer for support for issue number 1.
Thank you. Before I begin though, I want to point out that there are exits to each side and as well out the back where you came in. And there are also restrooms through where you came in just across the hallway. Issue 1 is a 0.83 mil bond levy that if passed would cost at most $29.05 per $100,000 per year for the replacement of Concord Fire Station 1 located at 11600 Concord Hampton Road. The millage will adjust proportionately to the accepted bid price, but it will not exceed 0.83 mils. And the current cost estimate that we have is at $8.95 million. The professional men and women of Concord Fire deserve fire stations that reflect the level of professionalism that they exhibit on a daily basis as they prepare to assist you at your time of need. The current station has served our community well for over 50 years. However, since the 1960s, our staffing has expanded, response vehicles have become larger, and our training requirements more extensive. Fire station design has also changed dramatically over recent years, focusing more on firefighter health and wellness while in the station. However, in a culture steeped in tradition and history, this change comes about slowly. Since 2002, almost 2 out of every 3 firefighters who died in the line of duty died of cancer, according to the International Association of Firefighters. In 2018, Concord firefighters responded to 71 fires, or about 2.7% of all our calls. Carcinogens are encountered by firefighters on the scene and remain with them long after the smokers. The new station has been designed to reduce this risk to our firefighters to keep those contaminants out of where the firefighters work, live, and eat by adding decontamination areas that do not exist in our current stations to address fire, hazardous materials, and traumas decontamination. The new station has been designed to combine our operations to increase efficiencies. We currently occupy almost 12,000 square feet of space in 4 locations that will be combined into the new Station 1. The additional square footage addresses the challenges firefighters face in tight quarters to more efficiently respond to emergencies. The current station has 4 apparatus bays that do not accommodate all of our response vehicles in our inventory. The increase in bay space will accommodate the equipment that is currently being staged off-site to improve emergency response. The new station has also been designed to improve training opportunities that do not exist in our current station. We appreciate your support and for voting yes on issue 1. Thank you.
Mr. Krasek has an additional 2 minutes to respond.
Well, there's no doubt that taking care of our fire safety professionals should be a priority for Concord, and that certain changes in the facility are needed to help with the decontamination and of carcinogens. That said, the huge expansion of this fire station and the taking of things out of storage, which are very infrequently used, such as a vehicle for brush fires, and putting them in the main station, are unnecessary. Having this big expenditure at a time when all of us are struggling with making our bills paid and telling us it's not very expensive when indeed it is spending almost $17 million doesn't sit well with me anyway, and that's why I'm voting no on issue 1. Thank you.
Mr. Sable has an additional 2 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, 1387 is our road rescue vehicle, and it is staged across the street in a red barn. It is not used as frequently as our frontline ambulance. However, it is not only used for brush fires. Our firefighters have outfitted that so it's multi-use. So it also has a patient skid on it that remains on it most of the time, so that they can go off-road. We have several hundred acres of metro parks in our township that we're responsible for protecting. We need to be prepared to have that equipment at our fingertips when it's time to use. When you're the person over that cliff waiting for rescue, it takes several minutes for us to deploy. Also staged off-site, not stored, staged off-site, ready to respond, is an ambulance. It's our third due ambulance when 1312 out of Station 1 and 1322 out of Station 2 are tied up. And we have to respond with 1332, our third due ambulance. It adds another 4 minutes. So think about if you're the one waiting for that, do you want to wait 4 minutes? Or do you want us to call for another agency that could take longer? EMS is a large majority of what we do, and that's why it's so important to bring our equipment, whether it's for the off-road vehicle or the heavy rescue or the third due ambulance, into where the firefighters can get to it. Like I said earlier, we occupy almost 12,000 square feet of space. We are not quadrupling anything. We're at best doubling. So to increase efficiencies and to give the firefighters a better living and working environment to increase and to improve our response time. So thank you.
We do questions for these speakers first. Okay. We have two questions for the speakers for issue number one. The first question is, does the fire department have the capacity to meet the increased needs of the recent commercial and residential development in Concord Township?
Of course, as any development expands, we have to keep a careful eye on our ability to respond to emergencies. We have seen an increase in the corridor of Auburn Road and Cryle Road, not so much Cryle, but specifically Auburn Road in terms of EMS with the medical facilities. We also currently share a ladder truck with Painesville City Fire Department that they stage for us and respond as needed. So right now we are doing very well. Our firefighters are very proficient in response and making sure that we get to where we need to be in a timely fashion. Our firefighters are very adaptable. So no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the issue, they will do whatever they have to do to make sure that they respond to you because they care. That's what they're here for. That's what they want to do. And they feel that they can do that in a better, more efficient manner than what we're faced with today.
Mr. Priest, the same question. Does the fire department have the capacity to meet the increased needs of the recent commercial and residential development in Concord Township?
Well, as Matt said, the Concord Fire Department is meeting those needs now, but there is no doubt that our needs will increase over time. Reasonable expansion of the fire station done in a way that doesn't increase our taxes is completely possible, utilizing the excess revenue the township already has, as well as being a little bit more careful with the expansion. We are consolidating to 12,000 square feet of distributed space into one facility, then I still don't know why we would need to double that space. That doesn't seem to me to be the way to get to better readiness.
The second question is, what are your thoughts about sharing resources with neighboring communities and the county? Please give examples if the department is currently sharing services.
Well, as I already alluded to, we do share a ladder truck with Painesville City. There was a study done that several years ago that explained the impact that local fire departments have, and they were actually looking to consolidate countywide fire stations and fire service. And what they came to realize is that we were operating so well on our own, independently, and using the resources from each other through mutual aid agreements, through our neighbors, that we're more than efficient with our operations. They also found that the cost to add and replace stations to make that consolidation happen would have been astronomical, because we have a requirement to respond to emergencies in a timely fashion. All right, we're measured through ISO, and we have to meet those expectations. Right now we're ISO 44Y, and we could do better if we were able to decrease our response time and also work with our water departments to get more water to the areas that don't have it now. So as fire chiefs, we always look for ways in which we can improve services to the community.
And the same question for Mr. Tracy. Shared services. I'm sorry. What are your thoughts about sharing resources with neighboring communities and the county? Please give examples if the department is currently sharing services.
Concord Township has a tradition of sharing resources with the neighboring townships, especially with Painesville Township and Hamden Township. Luckily, we have a long tradition in Concord of supporting our fire services, which is why we supported and I supported the continuous safety levy. Having a self-sufficient Concord Fire Department, though, doesn't mean there won't be times when there is a severe accident or a severe safety issue, like the snowstorm issue we had on I-90 a couple winters ago. In those cases, of course, it's going to take all the neighboring communities to work together to take care of the emergency.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Mr. Capel on issue number 2. 3 minutes.
Sorry, I'm a little slow. I had a disagreement with a ladder in June and it won. So I'm Ben Capel. I'm the CEO from Lake Tran. I'm here today not to ask you to vote yes or to ask you to vote no on issue 2. I'm here to talk about it and give you information. So issue 2 is a sales tax increase for Lake Tran. So Lake Tran has existed since 1974. The levy that we operate on today is from 1988. We've renewed it a couple times, never increased it before. We prefer not to increase it, to be quite frank. But as we all know, Lake County is getting older. As Lake County has gotten older, the need for dial-a-ride has grown significantly. Over the last couple years, dial-a-ride demand has increased by 18%. Most of that, over half of it, is for seniors going to doctor's appointments. The other large part of it, about 23%, is folks with disabilities going to work. So as the economy's gotten a little better, people with disabilities have had an easier time getting jobs, and they need us to get to work. At the same time that has happened, we've seen a decrease in our revenue from the state. I learned a couple days ago that I have been saying 1.2 million is how much we've lost. It's gone to 1.7 now with the cut of another program. So as myself and the board sat around for the last year talking about what to do, we decided it was best to ask the community and not have us make that decision. So if issue 2 passes, dial-a-ride will continue to be the service that a large part of Lake County relies on every day. If issue 2 fails, we'll probably cut, and I can't say the exact number because we have to go through a process, but roughly 30% of our service. So 30% of dial-a-ride, 30% of our commuter express service goes to downtown Cleveland, and 30% of the traditional bus you see on Manor Avenue. Lake Tran is a little bit different from most transit systems. What we focus on is dial-a-ride. Over 65% of our budget is devoted to dial-a-ride, and that is what we have always done for the community and will continue to do. But we've been faced with a lot of challenges. And so myself and Julia Schick are here today. Our objective is to give people as much information as possible so they can make an educated decision when November 5th comes. So we have some literature in the back. Myself and her will be here through the evening to answer any questions anyone has after the session. But that is kind of the meat and potatoes of why Lake Tran is on the ballot. And yeah, I appreciate the League of Women Voters putting this event on and letting us talk to folks.
So just stay right there and we'll go ahead with, we have 2 questions. What services are currently provided to Concord Township?
Sure, so the primary service we provide to Concord Township is dial-a-ride. We do over 10,000 trips a year in Concord. That number has only been going up. Concord Township is very close to Manor Avenue where we provide fixed route service. And then we do know we have Concord Township residents that drive to our Manor Park and Ride on Route 2. But the only service today that is directly provided in Concord is dial-a-ride. Something we get a lot of requests for, that is one of the things we're considering if the levy passes, is to provide better access between Painesville and the Tri-Point area. The hospital continuously asks us for traditional bus service to Tri-Point. Traditional bus service in some fashion makes sense. It might not be the bigger bus that everybody sees on Menor Avenue, but it might be some form of more scheduled service that connected Painesville and Tri-Point.
How will Concord Township be impacted if this levy fails?
So of those 10,000 trips a year we do for Concord, we've cut about 30% of those. Our service, if we made cuts, would be first come, first serve. So it's difficult for me to say exactly how it would be affected because the people that use the service would be scheduling their trips, and if they called before somebody else, they might still get it. But roughly 30% of the service we provide to Concord today would be cut.
Thank you.
Is there a speaker here for issue number 3? Then we will continue. We will thank these gentlemen very much for their presentation. We will ask for the candidates for a Painesville Municipal Court and the candidates for trustee.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to give the 2 candidates for municipal court a playing card to decide who goes to speak first. Each of the candidates will be given 3 minutes and then 2 additional minutes. Thank you, candidate.
I'll do it for you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't say it.
That's all right. How about some water?
No, that's okay. Thank you.
We could share. I'm Paul Melchesky. I'm asking to be elected as your next Painesville Municipal Court judge. Being a good judge is about making good choices. For 15 years, I've been serving as an acting judge appointed by the now retired Painesville Municipal Court Judge Mike Cicconetti. The choice he made for me to act in his stead, the choices he made to be fair, to be creative, to make the law work in the best interests of Lake County, has made the judge a great judge. Now that he's retired, and he's been retired for about 3 weeks, you have a choice of who will replace him. Now, growing up, I learned how a wise judge can use the law to help people. By watching my grandfather, Judge Hoos, former Willoughby Municipal Court judge, and the first exclusive Lake County Juvenile Court judge, make the law with canon of Annie Melchesky. I chose a place. I spent my life making the law work for the residents of Lake County. I will, and I have served and protected the community from crimes with the most varied and greatest breadth of experience. As a trial attorney, as an acting judge, I settled the differences and disputes of court matters related most to you. Criminal and civil law, I have over 23,000 municipal court cases I have attended to. The sheriff's office reads a report once a month about thefts and traffic cases, OVIs and DUIs and drugs. Those are the cases that are handled in Painesville Municipal Court. The civil matters that are less than $15,000. It is one of the most efficient courts in the state of Ohio. In fact, it is the most efficient court in the state of Ohio. As an acting judge, a township trustee for over a decade, a legal advisor to many public entities like Lake Tran, like Lake Geauga Recovery Services, Harpersville Township, I serve and protect our community from crime. Concord Township chose me as a township trustee for 4 terms since 2005. My colleagues have chosen me as the Lake County Bar Association president this past year. For 25 years, I've had municipal court experience. For 22 years, I've had courtroom litigation experience, 23 next month. I've had countless jury trials. I've been appointed as a special prosecutor on sensitive enforcement. I'm a very humble person. It probably comes from my Catholic upbringing, but my experience is unmatched. I know this court, I know Eastern Lake County. As a lawyer, you have a duty to put your clients in the best position. I feel that I have a duty to place this court in the best position with the best judge, and that is me. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from Candidate O'Leary. 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is James O'Leary, and I am the Painesville Municipal Court Judge appointed by Governor DeWine back at the end of September after Judge Cicconetti retired. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum today, as well as Concord Township and the Auburn Career Center. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm married. My wife Laura is here. I have 4 kids, 8 grandchildren, an extended family, including my brother who's here today. Thank you for coming. I've been practicing law since 1996. In that time, I've served as the law director for Willoughby Hills, assistant law director for Kirtland Hills, Grand River. I've been a police prosecutor, prosecuting cases in Willoughby Municipal Court for the last 7.5 years. I have, in that time, also been a magistrate in Lake County Juvenile Court, hearing cases ranging from criminal cases to abuse cases involving children, custody matters, as well as child support cases. In that 17 years, I've heard over 3,500 cases and have practiced in municipal courts, including Painesville Municipal Court, during that time. As I said, I was appointed to be judge in Painesville Municipal Court at the end of September. Having been involved in the court before, I found 3 main things that are challenges that this court faces that I believe I'm uniquely qualified to take care of. The first is the fact that we have people with addictions. Every day people come in with issues with cocaine and heroin and other types of drug abuse. While I was in Columbus at the Supreme Court, we talked to them about the possibility of getting a drug court for Painesville, which would give additional funding as well as the opportunity for us to have additional resources. Fortunately, we have a great probation staff and services that are available that right now can help meet some of that need. Mental health issues. We see people all the time. I saw a young man today that came in that was homeless, and he was homeless mostly because of mental health issues. We tried to connect him with Project Hope. We tried to work with him to get him some help. In particular, I'm worried about veterans. I did talk to John Wormling from the Veterans Administration, and he and I are going to meet and talk about other services that we can provide. The last thing is diversity, and I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk about that, but I will as I get the opportunity to come back up. I do ask for your vote on November 5th as the Painesville Municipal Court Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Milchowski has an additional 2 minutes.
County, we put it together, an organization for veterans that we provide legal services, free legal services to the veterans. It's to the veterans, and we will continue to do that. With regards to mental health, Painesville Municipal Court sends a lot of the mental health problems, issues, and concerns to neighboring, to pathways. We work very well with them. But with regards to the addictions, one of the best and the best recipe in dealing with those addictions is jail time to drive somebody out. The Lake County jail treatment program is one of the best programs in the state of Ohio. It's worth Lake Geauga recovery centers. It's a 30-day program. It's in-house patient program. People can go to Glen Bay and spend $28,000. Lake County Jail treatment program is free to that individual. And with the jail time, the jail program, and a thumb over them with regards to probation, there is an 80% success rate in the first year. Now, where you fall off is that second year, and what is necessary is bringing that individual in and bringing the family members in and having a long discussion about their loved one and that addiction. And what you need to do is you need to have that accountability to the family. You need the family support. It is the most important thing in getting through that. I'm sorry to say that you have to treat that victim as if, and they are a victim, they have a disease, you got to treat them as if they're a 5-year-old, and for the next 2 years.
Is it okay if I just come up?
All right.
All right, let me just go back and address the last issue, and then I'll come back to the others. And that the diversity this court sees, unlike Mentor Municipal Court and Willoughby Municipal Court, we see such a diverse group of individuals, from the homeless to those that live in large homes throughout our jurisdiction. We see people that cannot speak English. And in fact, today I had somebody come in, minor traffic ticket, but fortunately we have several interpreters on the staff at Painesville Municipal Court, and they come in and they help us work with individuals to take care of that. Our job is to really put people in the best position to succeed. And many times that means that we do things out of the norm. That's what Judge Chicken answers, with the idea of impacting that individual as well as the community. And that's something that I embrace, but it's not something that's done every day. It takes a unique case to utilize that as part of your tool. But every day we're faced with circumstances in the court that need special attention. I'll give you one example. Last week I had a young woman come in. She owed $238 on her traffic ticket. She said, "Your Honor, I can't pay until after, because this payment goes on my next paycheck and this goes with this." She said, "It's going to be the end of November." And I said, "Could you volunteer your time?" She said, "Oh, I would love to do that." So we sent her back. She's going to do community service, and she's going to take care of that. She's not going to have to worry about how to take care of that thing.
Question was anticipated. Our first question is, what are your thoughts on creative sentencing? So, can we hear from Mr. Milchowski?
My thoughts on creative sentencing is they're unique. They serve the appropriate purpose in the right circumstances. So if you're going to use them, and I do plan on using them, I would use them wisely. I'd use them infrequently on the right cases. The cases that really mean a lot are the cases that you have to bring in and almost sometimes clearing the courtrooms and having long discussions with family members. If you want to make sure that somebody is not going to be, you don't increase the recidivism, the likelihood of somebody to recommit that crime, you're going to have to spend some extra time with them. You need to make sure that you understand what got them in there, what the underlying problem was. Was it mental health? Was it drugs? Was it alcohol? Was it just anxiety? And make sure that you take care of that underlying program. And those are programs for that. There's mental health programs, there's drug and alcohol programs. There's a lot of resources in Lake County. There's a lot of resources in Paynes Municipal Court. We should be very thankful for it. Yes, it's a diverse court, but it's a wonderful court. It's one of the most wonderful courts I've ever got to practice in, and I practice all over the state of Ohio. I've been to all kinds of courts in all four corners of the state of Ohio. It's just a tremendous court to be in. They're always nice to you, they're always courteous to you, and they're always very respectful to you. Thank you.
Well, as I was saying, from my perspective, this court every day deals with people's lives in trying to help them to succeed. And so, given the opportunity to stay as judge in Paynesville Municipal Court, we will utilize that as well as all the tools available to us to help people to be successful.
The second question.
The impact of poverty is significant. If there's something that's significant in Paynesville, is in that particular court is the areas of poverty. That's where you have frustration. That's where you have anxiety. And then you have those crimes that go with that, those problems. In one sense, they're very easy to fix with regards to those individuals. They got frustrated, and there's a less chance of recidivism on those types of cases. But to rid somebody of poverty is one of the biggest extremes. The court, we've always had a big understanding that Paynes Municipal Court has been the people's court. And the idea of somebody coming in here and, let's say, not being able to afford a traffic ticket. We'd rather have that individual go to work than pay that traffic ticket and work that off somewhere else. We'd rather have that individual not lose their job because they found themselves in a criminal case. And so we try to work with them in resolving their matters, keeping their job, and also paying whatever debt. It's very important, at least to me, very important that people maintain their employments, continue to work. We strive at making sure that we're able to do two things: make sure that they continue to work, and make sure that we do our job by protecting the community. And so we found that you're able to go ahead and marry those two devices. Thank you.
Unfortunately, every day we see the face of poverty in Paynesville Municipal Court. As I was completing my traffic cases today, I can only think of one person that was able for weeks to take care of this. It is an issue that the court has to deal with, and that's why there's great services that are available not only through our probation staff, but we have the Department of Job and Family Services just up the street, as well as ministries like Project Hope and other agencies in our community that can help folks that are either jobless or underemployed or facing challenges because of medical issues or mental health issues. Those spill over to the court. One of the other things that we run into that becomes a drain on the court as well as the individuals is people driving under suspension. If they lose their license for whatever reason and they have to go to work, so they take the risk. They drive anyway. And then they get pulled over and they get a driving under suspension. So you've got a suspension, now you've got a ticket, they leave, I saw a fellow last week that had 14 of these for consequences with him. But we try to work with people because we want people to have a license, because having that license means that they get to go to work, and it helps take care of that poverty issue. Thank you for your time.
We'll now hear from the candidates for trustee for Concord Township. Mr. Dandorfer is running unopposed.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Dondorfer. I wanted to introduce myself as your newly appointed Concord Township trustee. I was appointed in April of this year to take over the seat that Christopher Galloway vacated when he took over at the auditor's position. I think it's important for residents and taxpayers to know who their public servants are, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a product of Lake County, grew up in Concord. I attended St. Gabriel grade school. I became passionate about public service early in my career. I believe part of that was my dad's desire to get me into scouting early. So I went through the ranks and became an Eagle Scout in 1986. I graduated from Cleveland St. Joseph High School in 1980. I joined the Lake County Sheriff's Office, where I served not only Lake County, but the residents of Concord Township as the deputy sheriff. I thoroughly enjoyed that career as a law enforcement officer. I believe the success of public service is based on the preservation of public trust. So I held that obligation very close to my heart, and I believe you do that to preserve that trust by being honest, attentive to others' needs, being compassionate and empathetic, and serving the public with dignity. And I believe I did that through the Sheriff's Department in my career there. I retired in 2018 as the operations captain. My responsibilities throughout the years, I pretty much ran every division of the Sheriff's Office, from the road patrol, the Lake County SWAT team, the front office, our court services division, and I also helped to manage a multi-million-dollar budget for the Sheriff's Office, and I did that responsibly. I also worked by the side of many of these firefighters here in Concord Township, and I really enjoyed serving the residents of Concord Township. So when the opportunity became available to serve as a trustee, I thought it was something I needed to do. And I really have enjoyed being a trustee, appointed only for a short time, but learning the business about responsible stewardship of being a trustee. And what I see for Concord in the future is, you know, Concord's changed since I grew up in this area. We're getting over 20,000 residents right now. It's considered an urban township. I believe a trustee's responsibility is, you know, with anything, there's always growth, but that growth needs to be managed responsibly. And I believe that I have the capabilities and ability to lead Concord into the future and manage responsible growth. We're seeing some growth in the Capitol Parkway corridor. We've had retail that have been brought in there, some new industry, and I look forward to serving the community in the future. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Mr. McIntosh.
Good afternoon. My name is Morgan McIntosh, and I'm seeking the office of Concord Township trustee. I want to thank the League of Women President who live in Summerwood with my wife Lynn, who is a pharmacist with the Cleveland VA. I graduated from Minnesota State University with a bachelor's degree in law enforcement, and I left law enforcement to come back to Ohio to help my father run a small manufacturing company. Became the owner of that business at the age of 29 when he passed unexpectedly. And prior to working for him, I did not have any business experience. I dug right in and did what I needed to do to learn about business and learn what it meant and what I needed to do to run the company. I taught myself a lot of lessons, learned some of them the hard way. I recognized that my company needed to grow in order to survive. I aligned strategy, I led people along that way, and during the first 5 years of the business, I put the company back on a growth strategy, and we increased the business 50%. Along the way, I started using that growth as an opportunity to develop a platform to continue growing. And then after the recession, I acquired two other companies. Took a lot of interpersonal hard work, a good understanding of budgets and financing, and I'm proud to say that I was able to pay my acquisition debt off early. I've served on the Concord Township Zoning Board for the last 10 years, so I understand a lot of the things that are happening in Concord Township. The foundation of Concord Township zoning dates back to 1964, and the principal zoning that we have in Concord, that development took place between 1964 and the mid-1980s roughly. I joined the zoning board in 2009, and the things that we've done since then have enhanced those districts, taken a look at, there's been adjustments basically to the zoning. So we've taken a look at districts and things like the use tables and just various nuances within those, and those are the kinds of changes and things that we've seen. Other than that, we're doing site plan reviews and just taking a look at the context of the zoning that's been in existence. I have a record of preservation in Concord. I've utilized Concord conservation zoning. That preserves green space. We've implemented riparian setbacks, which controls water and its regulations to help manage the stormwater problems in Concord Township. I also have a record against voting against high-density apartments. My business background and my experience in Concord give me the resume to serve as trustee. I bring a fresh, business-based perspective. I'm known for thinking outside the box and creative problem solving. And I think I'll be an excellent trustee. Thank you.
Mr. Miles. You'll now hear from Mr. Miles. You have 3 minutes.
I'd like to thank the host today, the League of Women Voters, Auburn Career Center, and Concord community for sponsoring this event. I'm Jack Miley, and I'm running for trustee in Concord. I have a long history of community involvement here. For 23 years, I've been an administrator at Riverside High School and Hell Road Elementary. For the last 6 years, I've served as vice president of the Riverside Local School Board. With my knowledge and my experience, I will continue to work to make our community a better place. Some of my vision, I plan to bring proven leadership to the community. I plan to preserve the real values of our community by stressing collaboration, transparent fiscal responsibility, by utilizing the many existing revenue streams, and I look for creative ways to come up with new finances and revenue. I will resist new taxes at Concord and only approve them when I feel that we've expired all the other possibilities. I would like to showcase our excellent fire and sheriff's services, but at the same time, we need to look at keeping them financially stable. I will be a fiscal watchdog that asks tough questions. I think that in the past, a lot of things have just been rubber stamped, and I'm willing to step forward and work to expand our services, our budget, collaborative planning, and making greater decisions. As your next trustee, I will work for the citizens of Concord. I will be able to step forward and tell you that our government will be transparent and it will be something that we'll be proud of. My candidacy will provide the residents of Concord an opportunity to bring new vision, new style of leadership, and a people's advocate to our government. Concord needs this type of change, and I'm the trustee to do it, and I will be a trustee for all citizens, not a few. Last thing I want to leave you with is to learn more about my background, my stance on government, and how I can make a difference. Check out www.jackmiley.com.
Mr. McIntosh has an additional 2 minutes.
I made the decision to seek the office of trustee because I believe Concord deserves honest and responsible leadership, and I believe I'm that individual. Mr. Miley has stated that he is for preserving semi-rural neighborhoods and collaborating with residents and trusting government. Mr. Miley voted to sue Concord Township to place a controversial school in the backyard of Mr. Miley did not collaborate. Over the past 5 months since I've become a candidate, I've been in the community talking with residents, and I've had phone calls, emails, and conversations with some of the residents as the school has been built out and finished that project. Mr. Miley has had no conversations with those residents at any time, and he actually forced development in Concord Township and did not collaborate or seek cooperation with the residents. In 2016, Mr. Miley voted to put a bond issue on the ballot, resulted in the financing for these schools for $38 million. The interest on that project cost the taxpayers $41 million. Mr. Miley says that taxes in Concord are high and he isn't for new taxes, but his record suggests otherwise. He has voted to put 14 mills of or 6 times what Concord Township has put on over the last 10 years.
Mr. Miley has an additional 2 minutes.
Well, Mr. Miley did a lot of things in Concord. It sounds like most importantly, I was one of 5 people that made the decisions that Mr. Morgan talked about. The one thing that I can tell you is that when the schools were being built, which he was referring to, there was about 4 family citizens that were against us going out there, and Ohio Revised Code was 100% behind the school system with regards to locating schools. So what we did was try to make a decision what was best for the community of Riverside Schools as well as Concord. And so we have 2 beautiful buildings to house our students in, and we're making major strides. Over my 6 years with the school board, we took a school system that was virtually providing hardly any services to one that is operating in one of the best in the area, and we're 5 years, I believe, fiscally sound. Now, let's talk about Morgan. Morgan has 10 years on the zoning board, he tells us, and he preserves zoning throughout Concord. Well, if you travel down Crowell Road and go over by the Drug Mart area, you'll see a development with Morgan signs out front. And it's with a builder and a developer. And if you go down Concord Hamden, you'll see his signs on Rick Osborne developments. So as a zoning person, you would think that maybe you shouldn't be so tight with the property owners that are the developers and that support high density.
We have 2 questions for the candidates for the contested position of trustee. The first is, please discuss your view of the 2015 Concord Township Business Corridor and Concord Town Center Plan developed by the Joint Economic Development District. We'll hear from Mr. McIntosh first.
I'm familiar with the 2015 comprehensive plan and the conversations along development in the Crowell Road district. I've met with the JED administrator. I've attended JED meetings. I've talked with the folks at Town Hall and the trustees as far as development in Concord Township goes. There is the JED district is a taxing district, so it's an opportunity for Concord to bring businesses in and generate tax revenue. Right now, there's not a whole lot of development going on there other than just a few pieces of property being sold here and there, and there's an opportunity for us to market that district to enhance Concord. Through my conversations, through my campaign this summer, I've had a lot of dialogue with residents about what they'd like to see there or their thoughts about it. I'm taking that very much to heart. I think development and growth in Concord is something that is definitely a lot of different opinions about that. So through my campaign, I've been getting a lot of different opinions, and I look forward to taking a look at that development in that area with fresh perspective. My record on zoning is, zoning has a particular mandate about how you make decisions, and trustees bring to the table a broader spectrum of variables, and it's a different consideration. So I'm familiar with the things that are going on in there. I understand there's a lot of opportunity there, and I understand there's a lot of opinion. So I'm very interested in continuing to have those conversations and take a look at how we market that district and develop it responsibly. We have a lot of concern about keeping Concord, managing that growth, and there's a lot of concerns about traffic. One of the things that I'm committed to doing in the first quarter of my term as trustee, if I'm elected, is to meet with the ODOT people, to go down to the local districts to understand their thoughts on traffic and see where Concord sits in their perspective.
And Mr. Miley, again, the question is, please discuss your views of the 2015 Concord Township Business Corridor and Concord Township Center plan developed by the Joint Economic Development District.
First of all, it's always easier to do things in hindsight. After living in Concord and watching what happened in 2015, I know that was a very heated issue and how it was laid out and how it was proposed. I would promise you that something like that proposal and planning and having the meeting at the community center and all that would have took a whole different direction if I had been going forward from there. With regards to it, now it's done, we have to figure out how to use it. And we need to manage the growth, like Morgan said, and we need to market it and grow it, because all that does for us is helps us. There's a lot of money created in that area that is non-taxed, and there's many uses. They just announced that they paid it off, and they paid it off faster than they expected. I don't know how much of that was political or how much of that was actually being fiscally responsible, but I do know that they did not ask the community about the plan before it went out. I think the issue about traffic, it's probably worse now than it's ever been. My mother used to live at Vista Springs, and I used to go through that area all the time, and the number is 44. It's a very dangerous area, and we do need to look at it.
The second question we have for the candidates is, several building and zoning hearings have attracted the attention of residents of Concord Township with concerns about privacy, stormwater management, green space, third-party monitoring, and green space requirements. Please comment on your view of future development in the township, and would increased taxes be necessary to meet these goals?
As I said, on the zoning commission, within the last 2 years, we took up the issue of riparian setbacks, which is again the regulation of building and stormwater management. I'm aware that the township in certain cases has acquired property, and we've responded to increased floodplains to manage that sort of situation. So we're taking people, so we have to manage that. We have zoning in place, and we have to essentially honor that. Otherwise, we'll have litigation problems. But as far as maintaining privacy and the green space and how that impacts the amount of infrastructure taxes or infrastructure costs and demands on that, and taxes are how that has to get funded. So we're residential growth in the JED district to focus on attracting businesses. We've done some infrastructure investments there, so you see the opportunity to begin marketing that. You have some goods and services in the corridor that might make this more attractive to other kinds of businesses to come to Concord Township, which again, in the JED district, if you're not familiar, the township is able to collect payroll tax there, so that's additional revenue. And I think that's a way to manage growth in Concord without putting additional burden on the residents.
Mr. Miley, The same question, several building and zoning hearings have attracted the attention of residents of Concord Township with concerns about private stormwater management, green space, and third-party monitoring of green space requirements. Please comment on your view of future development in the township, and would increased taxes be necessary to meet these goals?
First of all, going back to what I said in my first presentation, that for this guy to increase taxes, they'd have to prove there's a need, a real need, and that we investigated totally. With regards to development in Concord, there's many people that live in Concord that went out to Concord when it was a country, rural. The neighbors were spread out. The housing, now we have apartment complexes. We have high-density housing going in, again, going back to the development of Ralph Victor's over by Drug Mart. We have housing going in with this many feet between houses. We have an issue coming up December 3rd that the zoning board's going to have to take a look at, that is affecting zoning in an area where the homes are 2 acres or greater. You know, there has to be some common sense. There has to be some road development. There has to be bridges widened for this increased traffic. There's a lot of logical things that have to be studied before we can start packing homes. If you're interested, December 3rd, you should come to the trustee or the zoning meeting, because there's a big issue coming up that no one's talking about yet. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates for trustee. We'll now hear from Ms. Bush from the Educational Service Center. She has 3 minutes.
Center. Oh, that's wonderful. And you know, they left the best for last. Here I am. Let me begin by describing some of what the Educational Service Center does. The Lake County Service Center, or ESC as it's known, coordinates and funds specialized programs that support students in the local schools that partner with us. Those services include evaluating a range of vocational and career track programs for students at the Auburn Career Center. As part of the Lake ESC's board, I have been a strong advocate for the services that prepare students for employment in the local communities. This benefits both the students and the local employers who need employees who are well prepared with their relevant job skills and a strong educational background. For children and teens with disabilities, I am committed to maximizing their potentials so that they may find success in the workplace in their communities. For teens who are interested in a solid career track after high school, I am enthusiastic about the Auburn Career Center, which we're here right now. I support its mission to provide students with career skills that will make them employable as they leave high school. Many of local employers have told me how much they value programs offered through the Lake County ESC. They want to hire local young people. It makes the task of finding employees easier when local schools prepare students with skills local businesses are looking for. It saves them time and money to have well-prepared students ready to work. Businesses save on training costs and it promotes a more stable workforce when students come to work well prepared. I have been on the Lake County School Board, or ESC Board, for a number of years as a strong advocate for programs that prepare Lake County students for today's economy. I visit the Auburn Career Center to say hello to the teachers, to get them know better, and to answer their questions if they have any. I also visit the Lake Academy to get to know the teachers well and to say hello, to know that they're not forgotten. Oh, I just have that much.
Go right ahead and finish.
It's a source of great pride when I watch the graduation programs at both schools. It's then that I know what a difference we've made to them in their growth and their future. Please vote for me for the board. Thank
Okay,
you.
Stay right here.
Oh,
You pretty much answered the first question, which is what's the purpose and responsibility of the Lake Education Service Center? So the second question is, students in Concord Township may attend Riverside schools, Miller schools, or Chardon schools. What impact does that have on your service to Concord residents?
well, number one, the employers have a great possibility to have these students come and work for them. And I think that to educate the disability children, the disabled children in the Concord Center, Riverside, or whatever, is a great value to the country and to our community as such. So I'm very much for educating the disabled children. Okay.
Again, I want to thank all of our candidates for being here, and especially all of you citizens who took your time to come and get more information before you vote. And again, thank you to our timers, to Concord, and to our videographer. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Here's your cards, man.